I've only got 30. I got
All right, no, we're live. You
oh,
keep talking.
oh, sorry.
That's your fault.
I've only got 23 minutes.
Oh, that's
So,
fine. These are
so
short.
okay,
These are
okay, good,
short.
good.
Hey, everybody. Anyway, welcome. I know we're going live randomly, so I don't know if there's even anybody watching. Just because, hey, there is. There's a couple people
Oh,
watching,
okay,
so
cool.
pretty amazing. Anyway, we're here in Orlando at the IACIS training event here for 2025. It is nice. Obviously, most of you guys know. If you don't know, I live in Northern Ohio, which is I can throw a stone and maybe hit Canada if I got a really good arm just across the lake there. But it's cold back home. Here I come here and I about die. Of course, you're down in Texas, so you don't have to worry about that too
Yeah,
much,
it's
right?
actually pretty nice weather here for me. Like it's actually pretty cold. I mean, not cold, but cool outside. I mean, it's 87 now, but it was really, really cool the first half of the day,
Yeah.
and it only
Uh,
hits up in like the afternoon. But it's been actually pretty nice for me. So
Yeah. It's probably in the 50s at home for me. So
yeah,
just to give
that's
you,
pretty nice. But it's not. Is it sunny?
I don't know right now. I
Yeah,
could,
yeah.
my thing switched to Orlando. I noticed us. It's usually where I keep track of
Oh
what's
yeah,
going. I got a weather
yeah.
app, a widget up on my screen is what I was pointing
Well,
at. So that's how I can.
see, I have the latest Apple Watch that tells me all this convenient information, but Kevin's still
I do. Oh, wait, dismiss.
Kevin's still rocking a stone
Well,
tablet
there
for
was
a
a
watch.
tornado. There was a tornado watch. So
Yeah,
that's gives you an idea of what's going on back home.
yeah, yeah.
Mine got a temperature.
From here? Oh yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
it's
It
from here.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah. See, mine
It
has
didn't move
a.
around. I know.
Well,
I didn't know there
mine
was
has
such a
like
thing
a.
as this
It tells me the
ultra.
high and the lows for
Yeah.
today. So the low is 65, the high is 88, and the sun sets at 8:01 p.m. today. So
There you go. It's good information to have if
yeah,
you're,
it is.
you know. Yeah,
Yeah, if you like to do stuff before it gets dark outside, it's important to have that information.
it is. It
But I
is.
have found that it doesn't really like what I don't understand is it says sunset is at 8 o'clock, but there's usually about at least another half hour of light after that.
Yeah, but is that the point? Like the sun? I don't know. Maybe someone can answer here. Is that the sun? The point the sun actually completely disappears,
I don't know.
or is it like when you see that little sliver disappear,
I think it's
like then it's staying?
estimating when the sun hits the horizon.
Huh.
I think is what it's estimating because it's
We must
definitely
know this.
it doesn't go dark at this moment. I know because I paid because I go out and I use this because I jog a lot, so I use it to figure out how much time I have for light outside.
Yeah.
And usually it's like, yeah, around the time it says, I know I still have about 30 minutes of light
So I'm
outside.
gonna I'm gonna look up sunset in where you live, and I'm gonna call you right then. So hey, look at the sun right now.
Yeah.
Tell me
Oh yeah.
what.
Yeah.
Tell me if it's completely down or what does it look like?
Yeah.
Because you'll be out there. I know
Yeah.
you're running now.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's, I think, my guess is that it's just when the sun hits the horizon and it starts to go,
Yeah.
you know, and it starts to disappear because it's not like dark outside when this
Huh.
time happens.
It's light quite a bit, right? I mean, it's still
Mhm.
hitting weird angles and it's completely down. Anyway, it's
Yeah.
something we must
Because
solve. We must know the answer to this. I don't. I'm looking at chat and people are just ignoring us. So
yeah,
if
probably
we go
just,
live randomly like this, it's like, yeah, maybe not.
yeah.
Anyway, I'm with Matt Danner from Monolith Forensics. If you guys should remember Matt, he's been on the show quite a bit,
Hmm.
quite a bit.
A few times a year at least.
Yeah, for sure. We did predictions last year, and we did a mid-year check-in on those predictions.
Yeah.
And
I think my main one was like every company is going to claim to have AI
yeah,
in their software,
yeah, we
which is,
both
of
had
course they
that
all
one.
do.
Yeah,
And of course they're all
yeah,
not being truthful, I think.
yeah. It's more. Well, I mean, I guess if you open up your definition to what AI is, if it is it just an if this then that. I
Yeah.
mean, we as humans could be boiled down to an if this then that, right?
Well, I think if you're a customer listening to this and you see a company that has AI marketing, just know it's not for you. The marketing is not for you. The marketing is actually for the investors and the people that have money that think that AI has to be a part of a company platform for the company to
It's
be
a nice.
valuable.
It's a buzz term, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like what was. Oh, there was some crazy buzz terms over the years in marketing. Yeah.
Synergy and and growing the brand.
Yeah. Yeah.
Those are terms, right?
Right. You know, it was funny. We're sitting here watching the countdown before this goes, and I realized, number one, we hadn't gone live yet from the event. This is my first day here. Now you've been here
all week.
since Monday.
Yeah.
So you got here Monday, but we showed up. We're here Thursday, Friday, and then again Monday of next week for the booth. And we're getting ready to go live, and I'm like, what do you want to talk about? Matt's like, I know it's your show. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah. You're the
So we
host.
literally brainstormed like
I assumed
we
you
had it
had
solved in
things.
20 seconds before we
When
went
I
live.
walked over here, I just assumed you had topics like
No,
on
gosh,
an
no.
index card or
You know
something.
me better than that.
I mean, you
No
run a
way.
podcast, so I assume that's like a trick where you just have random topics to talk about at any given moment.
No,
No.
no, I
Okay.
just kind of wing it
Okay.
a lot of times, and that's why there's 5 people watching right now. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, also because you randomly started the stream, so people
Yeah, we
don't
didn't
know to.
advertise it or anything like that because all week, today we'll probably do maybe one more, and I know tomorrow we're going to be talking to Gene, the president of
Okay.
IACIS. He's always fun. If you guys remember, we had him on a couple years ago where Brent fed us some information about how he didn't like feet or some weird thing, and I pulled that out. You should have seen how embarrassed he got. It was great. I wouldn't do that to you.
Yeah.
I like you, Gene. Something else. No, I'm kidding. We have a lot of fun on the show. But what did we agree? What was the topic? It was
It was like traits to be successful in forensics.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So those what you said, I like it. Now, forensics obviously has been around for a really long time. Digital forensics.
Mhm.
We both got to see it evolve over the years
Yeah.
with the different technologies that we have to dig into. So, what would you say would be an important trait that someone needs to be successful in this?
Um, I think probably the most important trait above anything would be, sort of an unfillable, I don't know how to say this, but intellectual curiosity
Mm,
where
yep.
you the more intellectual curiosity you have, the better you're going to be at this work. And the reason that's important is because I know for me, what's made me successful is um, if I come across a problem in forensics of some kind, and this is just true of me in general and everything I work on, including with our company, is I assume something is possible until I've proven to myself it's not.
Mm,
Right. So what that means is because I've done it so many times in my career where I've seen something like, okay, I don't know how to do this, or I don't know if I can figure this, if it's possible to figure this out. But there's been so many times throughout my life where, even in especially in forensics, where I just work on it enough to where, yeah, okay, I did figure it out. There is a
mhm.
way to do this,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's, you know, f- finding a certain set of logs or proving that a certain artifact demonstrates a certain type of behavior, or if there, or you come across, okay, there's a new application installed on a computer or a new mobile app or something, and you have no idea how it works, and
Hmm.
you're trying to figure out, okay, did this happen to record a certain kind of user activity at a certain date and time? um, and because the fact of the matter is, like, for most, a lot of standard forensic work, yeah, these forensic tools will do the job that they need to do.
Hmm.
But if you want to do anything that's like actually impactful and do work that actually, most of the impactful work you do is going to be around data that there isn't a tool for,
Yeah.
or there isn't a pre-made solution for it, and you have to figure out, okay, how am I going to get this data and look at it and make a conclusion about it? And most forensic tools are unlikely to just do that for you in the more complicated cases. And so
Yeah.
being able to
Yeah. There's no
ha-
way they can keep up with the tech, the apps. There's just it's not possible.
well, yeah, and there's some nuance to it where even if it, maybe your tool does parse a certain database or certain artifact, but maybe it doesn't parse all of it,
Hmm.
or maybe it only shows you certain bits of information from it and doesn't show you what you're looking for
Hmm.
is in that database. So you need to be able to be curious enough to, you know, look at it and say, okay, I see that my tool of choice is showing me this information, but is that all there is? Is there anything else here? And having a career where you're just intellectually curious about everything will cause you to do things throughout your career where you're like, well, maybe I'm going to dig out that database myself and just look at it. And maybe I'm going to teach myself a little bit of SQL so I can run some joins and just see how this data relates to itself. Or maybe I'm going to learn a little bit about carving so I can pull some extra data out of a file system or out of a database. And if you're doing that your entire career, before you know it, by the end of not by the end, but like 5, 10 years into your career, suddenly you've got a dozen crazy skills that nobody else has
Yeah.
that are now second nature to you because you just do it all the
Mm.
time.
Right.
And it becomes this snowball rolling downhill where suddenly there's just no problem that, unless there's a physical reason why the problem can't be solved, there's just no problem that isn't solvable for you as a person. And that's just one of the most important things in forensics, because we don't have everything figured out. We don't have a tool for everything, and
Hmm.
tools don't answer every question for us. So your options there are either to just give up and say, oh, well, Celebrate or Magnet or whoever doesn't parse this, so I'll just wait for an update to come out. And that update may never come out. They may never parse that artifact that you're
Right.
looking at.
Yep.
So it's up to you whether you want to be the person that just gives up and says, oh, well, my tool doesn't do it, so there's no, I'm not going to do anything else. Or you can be the person that says, okay, well, my current tool set doesn't do this, so let me think about, what other options do I have for this? What other ways can I get at this data? What other ways can I look at this data or test it or figure out what I can learn about a user's behavior looking at this data set, instead of just waiting on my vendor of choice to solve it for me.
Yeah. So you're a big advocate of, and I kept, correct me if I'm wrong here, like laying out test data. I don't know what's bleeping at me. Something. I forgot to turn my do not disturb on. It's probably one of the. Hi, Megan. Maybe Megan. Sorry,
Batteries are
Megan.
running out.
If you're message me, yeah, it is. Oh, she says the mics look really good. She can see it right there.
Okay,
So that's good.
good.
I just got your Google chat, Megan. Sorry, I didn't turn do not disturb off, so it's literally right on my screen.
Yeah,
So yeah, there it is. They look good. So yeah. Anyway, I got new mics. If you guys didn't notice, we were carrying all this equipment around. But anyway, what you're saying was, and it's something I like to do in the lab, and I don't know about everybody else if they do this nerdy stuff, and I know you do, 100%. Is that I always want to know, well, how does this artifact get there? What is it else does it do? I mean, so I would set up fake scenarios and like lay data down in a
yeah.
real world environment. And it's
Mhm.
like, okay, what else is going on here? I wasn't ever happy with just what the tool was doing. And especially if you need to go back and reverse engineer it, that's curiosity. It's huge. If you're not
Yeah, and
curious,
I think the thing that people don't understand is it's not just about, you need to be curious to solve any particular problem. It's that it's sort of like having it's a muscle that needs to be worked out consistently to be useful.
hmm,
So you can't just be like, oh, well, I only dig deep on like certain cases that are important. Well, by the time that happens, you're not going to have the right skill set anyway. So you might as well just not do it. You need to be always intellectually curious, because it's a skill set that you build over time, because you need to know how to investigate data. You need to know how to like dig into something. And also you need to know when, there's a certain point where you look into something enough where you need to build the skill of knowing when, okay, I've spent enough time on this. And I know for me, if I've spent X amount of time on something, then it's unlikely to be a solvable thing.
hmm,
Right. And the only way to do that is to basically spend years, doing that kind of work and figuring out, having a bank of wins. We're like, yeah, okay, I've done this X amount of times and I've been successful 50 times, but there's been 10 times where the process wasn't successful. And through that, you start to learn, your brain starts to form a mental map of like, okay, I know if I look at a problem and I can't solve it within an hour,
hmm,
at this point, it's probably not something that can be solved. Right. If I'm not making progress on whatever that issue is within an hour,
right.
then I'm pretty confident that if it is solvable, it's beyond the amount of time worth it to put into it, or it's just really not a solvable thing.
Right.
Right.
So you're wanting people, and again, I'm in 100% agreement with you. I'm trying to play a good interviewer. Oh, it's going to get really busy here, and I just forgot that it's
That's
gonna,
okay.
it's going to be
I'm
really loud here in a couple seconds, everybody. So just to let you know, because again, we're at IACIS. I can't turn the camera around because they frown on that. But there's 303 people in a room that's what 20 feet from
Yeah.
us, maybe, and they're all getting out right now for a break. So it's going to be a little insane. So curious is one of those. So we may have to pick up our voice a little bit. But what else? What's another trait other than you have to be curious in this. I
I
agree.
think
What else?
I think also confidence is a big one, which
Yep.
that seems like, of course, confidence is always good, but
Yeah.
the right
Yeah.
kind of, I think the right kind of confidence, which is like, you're not afraid to dig into the data. You're not afraid to, um, be confident about what you're capable with the evidence,
Hmm.
capable of doing with the evidence, or capable
Right.
with the data. Because I find that some people, especially folks that enter the field at the beginning, they're a little too timid to just dive into the evidence and start, having sort of an attack mentality about
Right.
like, okay, I'm going to look at this and I'm going to figure out what's going on with this evidence, or I'm going to instead. There, a lot of people, especially when they first enter, they're so overwhelmed by the new information of the field and forensics, whether it's going to a training like this where you're first learning about disk geometry or
Hmm.
file system artifacts or file system forensics or whatever. You can, some people can build this artificial sense that they don't really know enough to really do anything complicated. But you can't have that attitude. You just have to, especially early on in your career, it's more important to just dig into the evidence and just keep looking at evidence and keep digging and digging, even if you're not sure what you're seeing, because that's the only way you're gonna. Training only gets you so far. Eventually, you have to actually start digging into the evidence and looking at it. And I think having the confidence to say, I don't care if I don't know what I'm looking at. I don't care if I don't understand it. I'm going to keep looking at it until I do start understanding it. Or I know for me, when I first got started, I had a bunch of like physical books and some really good books like, File System Forensics by Brian Carrier was one of my favorites.
Yep.
And I would go through the book and he would say certain things that says like, okay, the MFT is, 1020, an MFT record is 1024 bytes in size. Okay. Well, I would pull up a hex editor of choice, load in an NTFS image, and then I'd literally find an MFT record and I'd count the bytes. It's like, is this true? And then I'd prove to myself, yeah, it is
Yep.
true. Or, oh, a link file is supposed to have this data in it. It's supposed to have this information in it. Okay. And then I'd open up an image or a disk or something, go find the link file and look at it and be like, is this true? And it is, right? And then I'd prove to myself that what I was reading was accurate. And then I would just do that over and over again for all these different typical artifacts or file system metadata or whatever. And the point, what I see a lot of people do is they learn that in training or they read it, but then they never actually prove to themselves that it's correct or that it's
Right.
accurate. And once you go through that process, it solidifies that information in your brain and it makes it more real, and it gives you it helps you build that confidence that you need to know that, yeah, this is real stuff, this is there. I can prove to myself that it's useful. I can prove to myself that we can take advantage of it, and it helps you solidify some of that training information that you're picking up on. So it's kind of a bit of a tangent thing in terms of both confidence, but plus also post training, workup. But that's where that confidence comes from. Is like realizing, yeah, at the beginning you're not going to understand much of this stuff, but if you put the work in and you're confident in yourself that you can learn this stuff and you can figure it out, and that it's okay to dig into evidence even if you don't understand it. That's a big part of it, as opposed to, because the alternative is to say, oh, I don't understand this, so I'm not going to bother.
Hmm.
What's the point? Like, I don't get this stuff yet, so I'm not. There's no point in me looking at it. Okay, well, you just stunted your professional growth by about 2 years by doing that,
Yeah.
and that's like a really bad way to start off your career in this stuff or in any new topic that you're getting into.
Yeah. And do you think playing on that confidence one a little bit is, yeah, again, I agree with you 100%. It takes a lot because this job can be intimidating. Number one, because there's a lot of people now doing forensics. When I got started, there's only a handful of people doing it,
Yeah,
so I could say whatever, you know. So it was now there's like, hey, there's people going to check you, make sure your crap
yeah,
is right.
yeah,
But part of that then is also is not being afraid to ask questions, right?
sure, sure,
Is don't be afraid to, because there's no way you can know everything, not
yeah,
even close in this field. Now, granted,
yeah,
I know a lot less than what I did years ago because I don't do exams anymore. I have to rely on smart people to deal with that. And it's not. It's kind of like again like owning a business, right? You don't know something, you have to go find out the answer.
yeah,
You got to
and
don't be
that's
afraid to ask.
And that's something I always tell people too, is you might get a forensic case where you run into a scenario that you're trying to figure something out. You could be the first person to ever investigate that specific thing. There may be nobody to ask questions about it.
Right?
Like,
That's true.
this happens all the time where you got some
100%.
specific scenario. This happens a lot for me, whenever I've done private sector work and civil litigation. There's just hyper specific varied scenarios that come up where the attorneys will ask me, "Hey, is there a way to tell if the user did this?" And I'm like, "I have no effing idea, no clue." And the problem is, I could ask colleagues about it, and the problem is, it's like, oh, it's some specific application or some specific web-based SaaS app that nobody has any idea if there's logging for it, or if there's some web browser artifact that may lead to some kind of clue. So there's really, sometimes there's just no, you can ask it for advice, like, hey, how would you approach this problem, maybe?
Hmm.
But some of these problems, like, there is no one coming to rescue you. Like,
No,
you're it.
no, that's a good
You're the
way
only
to put it.
person
Yeah.
around that's going to be able to figure this out. So either you figure it out or it doesn't happen.
Right.
And that's something, that's a value that I have in our company too, that I talk to our engineers about, where I try to tell them, like, there is no universe in which we run into a problem with Monolith or our software that it doesn't get solved. Like, that's not a thing. Like, we don't have problems in our software that we say, oh well, we just can't solve it. Like, we may not know how to solve it right away, but it's like, it's gonna get solved.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a thing,
Right.
And the same thing, you should have that same attitude in forensics, where there should never be a situation where you're just like, I don't know, I guess we're just not gonna know this. It's like, no, that's
Right.
not the attitude. The attitude is, well, we're going to figure out one way or another whether this is a knowable thing or whether this is not a knowable thing.
Right.
There's never going to be, I have no idea.
Yeah,
And
and that kind of plays off the first couple of things that you talked about with the curiosity. Now you don't know, can it be done? Now you got to go research. I don't
right,
know. Let's
right,
go look and see if it
right.
can be done. So
And
kind of it's almost like, again, in law enforcement we learn this thing of, I hate to use it. No, I'm not going to use it. Never mind. It's a cycle of things that that
yeah,
happen, and it. I think forensic plays that same role.
yeah,
It can go on and on like that.
yeah,
I just realized I didn't turn that light on. I have this big. You have a big shadow on part of your face
yeah,
there, and
yeah.
sorry about that, Matt.
That's all right.
So he doesn't look that shadowy. I promise. In real life,
I'm trying
he's
not
not.
to cover my face. I'm like, I feel like I'm talking like this the whole time.
I know. Well, we used to have those. You guys remember? You remember those mics that kind of hang off
Oh
the
yeah,
table, and then
yeah,
they had this big iron plate,
yep,
so they
yep,
wouldn't fall on us and kill us. But you know how much ways to move those things or to ship the?
yeah,
It's horrible. Now,
yeah,
literally everything, mic wise, is in this little thing right here.
yep,
The charger minus these. I had these for the last one. But yeah,
yeah,
makes it nice.
yeah,
There's a big chunk of me wants to go turn that light on right now.
yeah.
Now that I
So
realize it's off. Any
yeah,
more traits? I want
yeah.
to stay
I
on
I
topic.
think those are the big ones. And I have to go here in a minute, but
Yeah,
I
I
think
want
I
to be
think the big
cognizant
one
of
is like, it's also, I guess I'll end with this, like, something that bugs me a lot too when people first get into forensics sometimes is like, it's okay to be a nerd about this stuff.
No, yeah,
Like, and in fact, like, if you don't think this is nerdy stuff, like, you should do something else, because this is a highly technical, highly advanced field that, once you get past like your first year or two, like, you got to think, like, prosecutors, attorneys, judges, courts, they're expecting you to be an expert in this field, right? So that means, like, yeah, you should know how to parse hexadecimal. Like,
yeah,
you should know how to convert binary to hexadecimal. You should know how to convert hexadecimal to decimal. Like, you should probably pick up some coding skills. You should probably learn a little bit of Python. You should learn a little bit of SQL. You should learn, you should be able to dive deep into file system forensics and be
right,
able to
yep,
look at, raw file system data and understand how it works. You should be willing to pick up more advanced tools that don't have simple, you know, do it for me buttons on it, right? And that's something that kind of drives me, not crazy, but I get disappointed in colleagues I run into that have an attitude that they don't want to be. If something is too complicated, they kind of treat it as like, oh, I'll let the nerds figure that out. And that's like,
mm,
no, you are the nerd.
yeah,
That's why
yeah.
you're
You're
here.
that person,
Like, if you don't think that, then go do something else, because this work is too important.
100%.
And the thing is, think about it again. You're walking into court, and that court expects you to be a nerd. They expect you to know this stuff. They don't expect you to have the attitude of like, oh well, I'm not an expert in parsing link files. It's like, no, you are. That's why you're there. So
Sorry, I saw what Megan said. I had to put that up on the screen. It says nerd alert.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And
So
I use nerd as a pejorative, but what I mean is like you're in this field to learn highly sophisticated technical information that nobody else is going to understand, right? That's typically what people think of when they think of nerds.
mhm.
You're learning archaic information that most of the world doesn't know anything about, and it's not easy. It's hard, boring information, but that's what the job is.
Yep.
And that's and honestly, that's you get into this field, and if you do well, you'll make good money too. It's a good career to make a decent money, like
Oh
a
heck
decent
yeah.
salary and have a decent career in life, but you have to put the work in. If you don't put the work in, then nobody's going to want to pay you a lot of money to do this stuff.
Right.
So
Nope. Absolutely. Again, I know you got stuff going on. Is that how loud that watch is?
yeah, it's just how I have it.
He's
You can
see,
adjust
he's
the
bragging about
volume.
it because mine's archaic at this point, right?
Yeah,
It's really old. He's got this like fancy
yeah.
new one.
It has
He's
it
trying to get
has
under my skin where he's going to make me go buy a watch.
Yeah, well, it's because he's just got an old watch that's not that helpful. But I do need to go because I need to go talk to one of these classes and try to.
Oh, yeah. Go talk to one of the classes because they're going back in session now.
Yeah.
All
So
right, guys. Thanks very much. We're live in Orlando, Florida, down at the IACIS 2025 training event. We're here until Monday evening, and then we ship out leave. The event goes on all next week as well. So we're going to be going live throughout the week and next week. So make sure you hit the like button and then the little bell down there. It'll alert you whenever we go live. You can always turn it back off after the event. Until then, Matt, thanks much. I appreciate
of
it.
course.
Everyone else, thanks much. We'll see you guys later.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
It's not going to work. I got to actually push the crazy little button here. I thought I was going to set it up and be really cool, and it's not. Anyway, now we're leaving. See you guys.